Okay, good morning, good afternoon, saviors, wherever you're joining us from. Um, I I have cried a lot in the last few days um, because of Ghanaian. Um, Ghanaian was my senior in school in the university. She was like a year or 2 years ahead of me. So every time we met post school, I've always called her my senior. I want to appreciate House of Saviors. You guys rally around when she took ill. You guys donated, gave when we called for um, fund for, I mean, when she was in the hospital, battling with a kidney and all. I want to appreciate you all. Thank you very much for those that either the call to donate. I mean, it's been a tough time, for our family. But we are grateful. Saviors don't die; they just continue with the assignment. We want to know that our work continues to live on. I mean, that's the whole essence of impact. If there's any Muslim who has, I mean, who really taught us how to tolerate other people and live in love. That was Ghanaian. I mean, no wonder. I mean, they call her the love doctor. Ghanaian will stand in. I mean, if you say the program is a Christian program, Ghanaian might be the only Muslim on the program. She will be there, right? If I say I want to play, I want to play drums, Ghanaian will come and dance. If nobody's showing up, when we're going to start House of Savior, she was one of the first to volunteer to say, oh, my coach, I'm going to be one of the moderators. And Ganiyat was there all through, the last moment, the last time she moderated, I didn't even know that she was ill, you know. But since that was the last time, she came on board and she's been battling with, and she kept telling me, I'll be back, until she developed complications on Thursday and then Wednesday, and by Thursday she was gone. So it's a trying moment for all of us in the House of Saviors, and we can't wish it away, as it were. I mean, Ghanaians will continue to live in our hearts. Our work continues to live on. I mean, when I look at what was happening in Nigeria during the week, how people wanted to kill themselves, and people began to promote tribal bigotry over elections, my mind kept going to her, because I knew exactly where she would stand. We here stand for humanity, and that's why you will never see us talk about this is Igbo, this is Hausa, this is Yoruba. We don't believe in any of those things. We can't be fighting about things we knew nothing about. We can't be promoting stories that we were not born when they happened. I cannot and I will not promote that. I've seen pastors, I've seen people promote all sorts on social media, and I've said to many of them that, well, maybe it's time to begin to pastor people from your church, from your tribe, or live with people from your tribe alone. That system and that thought process has no space in a civilized world. My education is in vain and my religion is useless if I cannot tolerate the next man. And if I have to be trained ethnic card, that will not be me. It's not the spirit I stand for. So as we remember Ghanaian, let's live with what she stands. She stood for. She stood for humanity, one humanity, the spirit of Ubuntu. That was what Ghanaian stood for, and that is what we need to promote, and that's what we need to continue to live for. Let's pray for our family. We will try and see if we can organize our own night of tribute. But there's been a lot of prayers going on. I mean, she was buried almost immediately according to Islamic rites. And, we pray that God will comfort our beloved husband. I mean, another amazing soul who will show up for our programs, standing by her all the time. And we pray for our children as well. So thank you very much, everyone. Today, we have a friend in the house. I'm not going to be moderating today, so it's going to be Ayo Lawrence interviewing him. This person is someone I respect so much. I mean, the question is not what has he sold? The question is what has he not sold? From selling meat. I mean, he used to tell me that story. Maybe he's going to share that story here. How he began to supply meat to meat sellers and meat buyers and all. I mean, he's done a whole lot, highly underrated, because he flies under the radar. He does a lot of change work, a lot of coaching. He's the first person that I think I met who was doing a session who was leading a highly paid network system for people who want to be highly paid in their career, especially professional coaches. And he's done it so well. I don't know how he manages to cope with many of the clients that he has. And I've always told him, taunted him, that I hope you will not kill yourself with the number of people you are handling. But I think he seems to have a system around it. I mean, I've started with Victor Vera several times. He's very, very deep and very, very clear about his model. And so, House of Saviors, please, let's make welcome the tribe master, Victor Ekpo Bassey. Victor, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you, bro. How's
Good to be
Victor?
here. She's fine. She's fine.
Okay.
Everyone's
She's still
fine.
tolerating you, Abby. She has not chased you out of the house.
Uh, she is. Oh, she is. She's just managing me as she see me.
Oh God, God bless Vivian. That's my own sister. I just love her so much. Thank you
She's
for
amazing.
honoring us. Thank you for
Thank you
honoring
for
us.
having me. Thank you.
Okay, and so I'm going to leave you with Ayo Lauren. She's going to be grilling you a little bit, and
Okay, no problem.
yeah, open to learn. So, House of Saviors, please let's celebrate Victor Bassey in the chat box. Let's welcome him, and I believe that we're going to have a great time. Ayo, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, PF, for this opportunity to drill the chief tribe master. Yeah, before I came on, I had to really, really psych myself this afternoon,
Oh, really? Why?
Yeah, our sister that we lost, Hajia
Oh,
Gania.
yeah.
And, having to do this is really a little bit of a tough one for me. I've made up my mind, to do what we are supposed to do, because I'm sure if she were here, she
Oh,
would
she
want us
wouldn't
to
have it any other way.
do this.
Yeah.
Yes, she would want us to do this. I can remember the first time I met her was at a training, and she actually came with her wares that day. She came with the yogurt, she came with the zobo, and she was marketing. That was my first time that I met her. I'm sure PF would remember when we had what happens in the therapy room that Zuriel took in 2019. That was my first time of meeting her, and she's such a beautiful soul. Okay, so let's get to what we have to do here.
All right.
Thank you so much, sir, for choosing to be a blessing to us today. And I have quite a number of questions for you. And I'm very, very sure you will be able to do justice. PF said that we should ask you, what have you not sold?
What have I not sold? I think it would be crayfish.
Crayfish and human being.
No, I've sold a number of human beings. In fact, I still sell human beings as of today. Not their parts, as in them whole. So that's still being done.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. So yes, we are looking at we've been talking about the dark art of selling. And today we are going to be talking about being a highly paid salesperson.
Okay.
So what would, help an individual who has one or two things, one or two solutions, several solutions, products to become highly paid, sought after at the end of the day. And to be able to delve into this, we would like to know what role does personal branding play in effective salesmanship?
Well, you have to be careful. You have to be careful with the whole personal branding thing. 2010, between it was actually 2007. Between 2007 and 2016 going into 2017, personal branding was a major thing. And one of the things that really, really drove it was the confluence of mobile technology, social media, and the internet. And so when all of those came together, by default, if you got attention to yourself, okay, by default, that attention will spill over to benefits in other areas. Unfortunately, because of COVID-19, 2020 was a defining year, and the world literally flipped on its head as far as marketing is concerned. And so in today's world, it's very, very difficult for you to do personal branding the way people did personal branding before 2020. In other words, getting attention to yourself. You don't want attention on yourself. You want attention on a message, a philosophy, a way of doing things, an idea. You want people to buy into that idea. And once they bought into that idea, what typically would happen is that every other thing that they will need to implement that idea, they will buy. The benefits to you as a person is we're all human beings, okay? If you come into a moral scandal of any sort at all, and you built something that is really, really big, and all the attention was on you, everything you built is as good as dead. People will leave. But if the attention was in an idea, and you served as a guide for people who wanted to buy into that particular idea, then if you have a moral relapse or anything like that, people are still intact, but they look to you more as a human being than the God that is on top of a mountain or something like that. So in essence, what I'm saying is that there was a time when focusing 100% on your personal brand was an asset for people. But these days you have to be really, really careful about that. So that's what I would say.
Yeah. You said something as regarding positioning as a guide. So how do we do that?
Sorry, when positioning as
you
what?
mentioned as a guide.
Yeah.
As in said, you mentioned the fact that we need to position as a guide. So I'm asking, how do we do that?
Okay, well, I would use an example. For instance, let's look at our dearly beloved PF here. All right. He's done quite a lot of work on himself and his positioning and all of that. But when you think about PF, do you think about the person or do you think about the things that he teaches?
The things he teaches.
Yeah, which is very, very smart. Okay. And because of these things that he teaches, people don't necessarily position him as this infallible person that can never fail. He's seen more as somebody who is teaching this particular idea, guiding people along this particular way of thinking. Okay, and so that's the way the market sees him. And because the market sees him that way, it's easier for people to humanize him, to see him as a human being rather than something that is 100% perfect and that cannot fail. In selling, that's the kind of positioning that you want, whether you're selling one-on-one or you're selling to a group of people. You want people to think that, look, this situation where I want to buy this thing, it's all about me and my future. And this person here is a trusted advisor who has made out his time, taken out energy to just come and guide me to be able to make the right decision concerning this thing that I want for myself. All right. Okay. So that's basically what I meant by that.
Okay. And I think I really agree with that because I know there are quite a number of solutions that PF have been able to curate, and he's not the one driving those solutions. He's actually guided other people to be able to, deliver the same solution with their own flavor, but he was the one that started it at the beginning, that came up with the idea, but have guided people over time to be able to ensure that they can also deliver and help people get the results that they really want to get at the end of the day. So thank you so much for that. There's a question I want to ask now, but I'll just give like a background to it. I can remember while growing up, I love to sell things. Me too, I've sold quite a number of things, handmade, what's it called? Homemade gams, tie and dye, bookmarks from old cards, all manner of things. I found out that by the time I left the uni, finished serving, I got a job, I just stopped selling. There was even a time, money is coming in regular, and so I just stopped selling. So there was a time my big sis, sent some things for me to sell for her. I just picked a few things out of the whole lot, and it's paid and returned the remaining to her. But as life, happened to me, I found myself in a space wherein I didn't have a choice than to begin to sell. Okay. And I know that there are quite a number of people on this call who are struggling because initially it was a struggle for me to begin to sell again, and there are quite a number of people on this call who are struggling to sell. What can they do? What can we do to begin to sell in such a way that will get the result that our heart desires? So what can we do?
Well, the irony about it is nobody ever stops selling. We're always selling. Okay, we're always selling. It's literally impossible for you to be married, to have a job, to be out there in commerce, to have friends without necessarily selling. We're always selling something. Okay, so you don't ever stop. The challenge, however, is people have a mindset block around taking something and asking somebody for money for it. Okay, that's very, 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 very different from selling. And the reason why I say that is because selling is not necessarily something that you do to people. When you have the mindset that, oh, I want to take money from somebody in exchange to this, the mindset is that you're doing something to that person. And more often than not, we don't want to come across, at least the people that are on this call right now, we don't want to come across as manipulators. We don't want to come across as people who take advantage of people. We don't want to come across as that person who is always about the money. Okay, but you need to shift. We all need to shift the way we define selling in our heads, not as something that we do to somebody, but as something that we do for people. I'm a practicing hypnotherapist, and I've been practicing for about 4 years now. One of the things that I learned to do, one of the very, very first things that I learned to do was how to help people handle pain. My eldest daughter had an issue with her kidney, okay? And so we had to go do operations. The operation was successful, but during the period of time when she was recuperating, all right, they had to help her with morphine, all right? But the problem with that is you can't dose her completely, consistently with morphine. Otherwise, it defeats the purpose. So in between the period of time when the dose had worn off and she was in pain and the second dose was not yet due, it was a horrible experience for her. Now, I have skills that can help her take care of that without any issue, but my daughter had very funny ideas about what hypnosis was. So I had to sell her on it and help her understand that she's not going to be waking up in the middle of the night and saying, oh, daddy. No, she wasn't going to be doing any of that. So she got into that situation and I helped her to understand that this was going to be beneficial to her. I went through the entire process with her and they never had to give her morphine for the period of time that she was staying in the hospital. All right. Was I doing something to her? No, I was doing something for her. I had to help educate her and explain to her and get her to know that this thing that I want you to invest your mind in is for your benefit. And so if you come at it from that perspective, it becomes very, very easy for you to want to help people. But the reason why we don't do that is because more often than not, we don't take time to actually sit down and think, why would this person I want to talk to want this? The only thing we're thinking about more often than not is, how much am I going to make from this? Which is not the attitude that helps. If you come at it from that place, then going to this person becomes something that you're doing to them. But if you actually sit down and think through, why would this person need this? What is that situation in their life that this would help them elevate or make better? And then it's just a question of two friends sitting together and working out, hey, this is for your benefit. What's in it for me? So it's that mindset shift, that way of thinking, just shifting the way we think about sales from something that you do to somebody to something that you do for somebody. You're actually doing them a favor. That's the way you have to think about it.
And what I'm hearing you, Chief Tribe Master, is I'm hearing love.
Yeah, you can't sell without love.
Yes, I'm hearing love. I'm hearing, if you don't love this person, you wouldn't want to share that which you have with the person. But if I really, really, really love you, if I know that this will benefit, I'll go over and beyond to get it across to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And my work here is done. Because if everybody gets that, there's no other problem.
Yes, even though the next question I want to ask is in line with that, I'll still ask it. So I want to find out, how can people successfully pitch their solutions and get people to buy? I know you've talked about it, but just put another layer on it.
Again, it's this thing about the way we think about it. Okay, when you come from, I want to get you to buy, it's a terrible mindset to approach this from. It's a terrible mindset. It's the reason why people get scared. It's the reason why the person you're talking to starts getting the vibe that this person probably wants to cheat me or something like that. It comes from that kind of mindset. But when you move away from, I want to get this person to buy, to, I want to create an opportunity for this person to get what they want, then there's a shift. So that, again, is another shift that you want to do. And the way you do it, it's in conversation. It's in conversation. So for instance, if you understand that everybody, okay, that we are, every single person that you wants a better future than they want today, okay? And every single thing that you want to put in this person's life has to contribute to that better future one way or the other. I'm wearing glasses now. I paid a ridiculous amount of money for this ridiculous looking pair of glasses, only for me to find out that I would have gotten these frames cheaper. But I'm still glad. I'll still go and I'll do it again. But the person who sold me this sold me on the idea that this would contribute to the image I want of myself in future. The person who sold me this phone, pretty much the same thing. Every single gadget, every single thing that I have here is about a future that I want for myself that is bigger and better than my past. So if you just sit down and think about it, things work out better. Now, down to the practical side of things. If you're going to contribute something to somebody, it means you're adding value to that person. We hear people talk about adding value a lot, but in simple terms, what does it mean? Well, it means, number one, that you're helping this person get clear about what they want. It means that you're helping this person develop some kind of capacity, some kind of capability. It means, to a very large extent, that you're helping this person develop a certain level of confidence. Now, no matter what you sell, if you focus on helping the person get clear on how this phone is going to matter to them in future, you help them understand what capability this phone is going to add to them that contributes to the future that they want. And you talk to them about the level of confidence that this phone, having this, will contribute to them. It's a done sale. It doesn't matter whether it's a comb, whether it's fufu, palm oil, knowledge, it does not matter. And it also doesn't really matter how much the thing is. If anything at all, once you establish for the person that you help them get clear, you help them develop capability, you help them develop a high level of confidence with the thing that you're offering to them, more often than not, you are the one who calls the price. Because all of a sudden, you are very relevant to the conversation that they're having in their heads. So that's how you start to think about it. That's how you move it.
Okay, so the most important thing is to help your client, the person you're trying to, to support, sort of paint a picture of the future that they really want.
Yes.
So to speak, yes. So that they have clarity as regards it, are able to develop capability, and also the level of confidence is increased. Wow.
Yes. So if you do that with any product, because I mean, think about it. Have you ever walked into a shop, like to buy clothes, for instance, and there's so many choices to choose from, unless you entered there with something very clear in your head, you're just wandering around. Then somebody comes to you and starts this, maybe like, okay, look, what events, what occasion are you thinking of wearing the dress to? You're like, okay, my daughter is having an engagement party, blah, blah, blah. So, okay, fine. How would you like to show up? You make that. The person advises you and tells you, okay, look, if your daughter is around about this particular age, maybe they're hanging out with this particular people, you want her friends to feel accepted by you, and you also don't want to be embarrassed by them. This and this and this are the options that would help you achieve that. Okay, now if you take this particular dress and add it to this particular thing, this is how people will perceive you. You've helped them develop clarity and capability. And when they try it out and they look at themselves in the mirror and you let them know that, look, this is going to be a showstopper, it's a done deal. That dress is sold. It doesn't really matter. It's still the same things because those are the ingredients of value at any particular level. So if we just keep that at the back of our minds and forget about pitching people, talk to people, find out what they want in terms of, look, what are you confused about? Help them turn that confusion into clarity. What are you feeling inadequate about? Help them turn that inadequacy into capability. What are you afraid of? Let them turn that fear into confidence with your products. It would sell. In fact, they won't even feel like you sold to them. They'll be thanking you because you come across as the most helpful, contributing person they have ever known. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I'm thinking, and I'm trying to see how this can really work for someone who is just trying to sell, sell a product. So,
like what kind of product?
Okay, let's say you have I know you're a coach, so let me use a coaching product as an example. So if you want to sell a coaching program, how can we apply this?
Okay, so first of all, okay, cool. So first of all, I'm going to warn you, whatever it is that I say right now, please do not buy.
Okay.
Please do not buy. I'm serious. Don't buy. And for every other person that is here right now, whatever it is that I'm going to be offering, it's fictitious. It does not exist. Please do not buy. Right? Are we okay?
Yes, we are.
Okay, fine. So, Ayo, let me ask you a very, very funny question. So if you and I were having this conversation, say 12 months from now, okay, do you like Nkwobi? Do you like Ishewu? What do you like in terms of food? Okay, fine. So imagine that we've become really, really great friends. Okay. And 12 months from now, you and I are sitting down together. We're thanking God. God has done amazing things for us. What needs to have happened in that time between now and then in order for you to be happy with the progress that you have made? In order for you to be happy, what things do you need to have achieved between now and 12 months in order for you to be happy with the progress that you have made? The key point here is for you to be happy. What will make you happy? Yeah.
Okay. I have quite a list of goals that I've set for the year. So looking at them and seeing them, scored, ticked would really, really make me happy.
Cool. What would be like the biggest, most important goal there that if you achieved it would make you happy?
Oh, my financial goal.
Nice. Okay. I'm not going to ask you how much that is, but I'm assuming
it's an offensive
number. Okay. So the question that I'm going to ask you now is, why haven't you achieved that goal as of now? That financial goal, why haven't you achieved it as of now?
I think, yes, I've not put myself out there enough.
Okay. Any other reason?
None. Wow, why did I ask this question?
All right. So final question, trust me, final question. I'm not going to ask any other questions after this. But what do you currently have on ground in terms of relationships, finances, platforms, resources? What do you currently have on ground that could help you achieve this mega financial goal really, really fast?
I'm at a loss.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and assume that you have resources, but you just don't know what they are as of now.
Okay.
All right. And the major thing that is holding you back, according to you, is that you haven't held yourself back. That, or rather, that you've been holding yourself back, you haven't really put yourself out there. What if I could, under very, very unique circumstances, help you achieve the goal that you thought would help, that you would achieve in 12 months? What if I could help you achieve it in, say, 6 months? All right, guaranteed, or your money back, of course. What if I could help you achieve that in 6 months, but not just achieve it, but this fear you have about putting yourself out there? What if we could completely eliminate the fear so that you going out and doing every single thing that you need to do to achieve your goal? Because I mean, you know what you need to do, but it's just that this thing is holding you back. So what if in 45 minutes we could get rid of that entire fear so that whatever it is that was holding you back no longer holds you back, and now you have all the opportunity to marshal whatever resources that you probably can't even think about now or see right now. You'd instantly be able to recognize them. What if we did all of that and then we mapped out a plan that will lead you to achieving your 12-month goals in 6 months, and then you had adequate support for that? Would that be something that you'd be interested in?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
You
what
said
do
I
you
should
think
not
you'd be
buy, but
willing?
I said, oh,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. What do you think you'd be willing to invest in that in order to be able to achieve that? What do you think what would you think you'd be interested in investing in
Monetary
order to achieve
wise,
that? Yes. What would work for you? Considering where you are right now and all of that and your current responsibilities, what would work for you?
let's say $2,000.
$2,000. When would you like to pay?
When would I like to pay?
Yeah.
Can I spread it over a month?
12 months. Okay. I'm going to put my bank details inside of the chat so that you can make a transfer. That's how it's done. Do you feel like I tried to sell anything to you? No. Everything was
No.
conversational. There was no pressure. There was nothing. And yet, if I went ahead, the chances are very high that you'll pay me my first installment today. And you'll be happy. So it's conversation. It's conversation. What I did was I figured out, first of all, what do you need? What's clear? What's that future that you want? We needed to get clear about that. Okay. Second, what's holding you back? What's that thing that you don't think you have capacity about? And it was the fear about going out there. So I nailed that. And then in terms of resources, you didn't have that. So there was a certain level of lack of confidence in that particular area. But I nailed that by talking about working out a plan that was guaranteed to deliver, and me giving you support and accountability to deliver it. And because of that, even though I said don't buy, you were open to buying. So that's how it's done. It's not a complicated process, but all of that, notice I'm coming from a place of service. I'm not coming from, I'm not even interested in selling it. I'm coming from a place of service. So for every single one of us, if we think about it from that point of view and just shifts the way we're thinking about this thing we call selling, life will be easier for everybody. Honestly, life will be easier for everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So this takes me to another question. Right. So what's the difference between selling offline and selling online?
There's no difference. There's no difference because you're still dealing with the same thing. Look, it's not about what people say, funnels, tripwire, objections, and all of that. It's about human nature. It's about human nature. It's about human behavior. And if you understand human nature, which does not change, whether it is online or offline, the same people trolling online is because of opportunity. if we had the same opportunity offline, they would do exactly the same thing.
Same thing.
And they probably do that to their immediate circle as well. All these people trolling online right now, check back in secondary school or primary school, they were probably bullies. It's human nature.
Mm.
It's human nature. So people seem, because it serves the purpose of some marketers, they will let you think that selling online and selling offline, they are two completely different things. They're not. You're still dealing with human beings and the way human beings fundamentally think. Yes. It's human nature. That's what we need to understand. If you understand human nature, you understand human behavior, you're good to go.
Okay. So I'm actually going into the chart to see a few things that have been written here, or sort of be like tips can be applied both offline and online. So you mentioned these things while you were talking, and I think PF was able to highlight. So the first thing is we need to be able to let them see the future that they want, and then ask them what is holding them back, from getting into that future. And then the resources, the confidence that they need. So whether we are having conversations with people online or offline, it's the same process, that you've taken me through that we will always apply. So what resources, what confidence do they need to be able to take hold of that which they really want? And how can we help them, or I help them to be able to get to that future within the shortest possible time? So when we do all this in form of conversation, whether offline, online, we will be able to take people to that place that they want and be able to sell products, coming from a place of empathy, a place of love to them at the end of the day. I guess that's just what we need. If we do that, we are good to go.
You're good to go. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. PF mentioned it, and I think I agree with him 100% that you are a highly paid coach. So can you let us into your journey, how you got here? Because I've come to realize that when we hear other people's story, we are encouraged, we see that it's possible, and then, we can also go for it. So please just let us into your story, how you started and where you are now.
Okay, so it's a very long story, so I'm just going to compress as much as possible. So I graduated from the University of Calabar with a third-class degree in management. And as of that particular point in time, to be very honest, I thought that my life was over. So I did what any sensible Calabar boy would do. I ran. So I never got the opportunity to tell my father what I graduated with and anything like that, because by the time I got back to Calabar, he had passed on. So the embarrassment of him doing all of that was not quite there. But whilst I was serving, I served in Abeokuta with an amazing man called Olumide Lawrence. And Olumide Lawrence essentially helped me get a larger vision of myself, because as of the time I met him, he was 27 years old. And at 27, he had a nursery school, primary school, secondary school, a microfinance bank, a transport company, and was making plans for a university at 27. Now, the funny thing about it was I graduated with a third-class degree in management. He graduated with a pass in education. The irony of ironies. So I met with this guy. The school where I served is Paragon International Schools. It's one of the really, really big schools in Abeokuta. You literally cannot enter Abeokuta and not hear about Paragon. So that was the guy I served with. So I spent a year with him in essence. And by the time I was done, he called me to the side and told me two things. He was like, "Uncle Victor," that's how he refers to me. "You remind me of my younger brother. The guy can read. He'll read and read and read and read. No results. Please don't continue to be like him." So I felt it was rude, but anyway, I chilled on that. The second thing he told me as I was leaving school was that I had to learn how to sell. And that the best way for me to sell was to sell insurance. Okay. If I did a good job with insurance, I'm paid for the rest of my life, because literally life insurance is the only product that you gain access to after you're dead. It's the only time that it's delivered to you. So I get back down to Calabar. He introduces me to Ekpo Insurance, which was where I started off. And well, everything started off well. My first insurance sale was for ₦1 million when ₦1 million was still worth something at that particular point in time. So things kicked off very, very well. I had the job, I had the jacket, I was a fine boy as of that particular point in time. And then I had this girl that I had the hots for. Now I've been in love with the same woman for 26, 27 years, but our relationship has been on and off. So during that period when it was off, well, I was looking around and I met this other lady that decided to drag me to church one day. And whilst I was there at church, she told me to come watch this tall, funky guy that she said I would like. And in the middle of the presentation, this guy turns around and looks at me directly and says, if you're here, you're selling for somebody, what makes you think you can't sell for yourself? And it completely messed me up. The tall, lanky gentleman I'm talking about is Sam Adeyemi. He messed me up really, really good. All right. So I went back, long story short, resigned from the job like most of us would do. I had no plans. I just felt just jumping. I would never advise anybody to do that anymore, but I just quit. All right. And I left, no income, no nothing. I was going to start my business and start selling for myself. The problem was, what am I going to sell? So I started asking around, and my aunt, who I was living with my uncle at that particular point in time, out of frustration, said, Victor, if you want to go and sell meat, leave me alone. I was like, that actually makes sense. So I became an apprentice to the secretary of the Butchers Union in Calabar. I'm very, very good with maths and accounts. So as a result of helping him reorganize his accounts, I became really, really close with him. I spent about 6 months with him as an apprentice, and then he launched me out with 2 cows, which was very, very nice of him. But I struggled to sell because the competition was very, very high. All right. And so I thought about it, and I noticed that there were meat shops around Calabar, but the meat shops, they died very, very quickly. They didn't stay up for a while because they were competing with people who were selling meat at the abattoir and in the market. And of course, if you walk into a meat shop, unless you have a high level of income, the only thing, you're buying the meat, but you're also paying for the AC and the rent and staff salaries and all of that. But I was a butcher. So I was like, okay, fine. I'll sell meat in kilos, and a kilo would be a kilo. A kilo back then, I made it 500 naira, and I was going to sell it on a subscription basis. In Calabar, we have a saying that if you have meat in the house, you have food in the house. So more often than not, you can put anything together as long as there's meat, everybody is happy. So that was how I launched. I remember the first place that I went to was WAPI, West African People's Institute. And I walked into that particular place. I had my suit on. I had my meat package. It was in a briefcase. I had my cards, every single thing, looking really, really solid. Remember, I just came out from insurance, so all my suits and everything was still very much intact. So I walk into the principal's office, asked to see the principal. Principal looks at me. She knew me because she was friends with my uncle, and she was like, so Victor, you're looking very smart still. What do you want? I said, I want a contract. She said, what kind of contract? To supply you with meat. She said, what kind of meat? Well, I brought my suitcase, placed it on her table, opened my briefcase, the man screamed. She said, what kind of meat is this? Next thing I know, she's calling her what they call it. She's calling her staff. Everybody comes into her office and they see the meat there. How much is that? I said 500 naira a kilo. A kilo is a kilo, but it's on the subscription. Okay. They're like, subscription. I said, well, if you give me 2,000, I'll deliver meat 500 naira every single week to your house. If you give me 10,000, I'll do this. It fits all the way up to 80,000 naira. And they were just looking at me. They laughed, they abused me, they bought everything. All right. So that was how I started out. But it was the first time I made a lot of money as a young person. I kind of like got into my head and I started doing some really, really stupid things. I would go to Metropolitan Hotel. Now it's called Transcorp, but back then it was Metropolitan Hotel. I'd spend a weekend there. And the thing with success is it attracts investment. Okay, so I had people who invested in the entire business. I had a lot of money running around with me. So I did that. But on Monday, when I'm supposed to like give everybody their due, I'll tell them sales were bad. None of that was happening. And then I'll postpone them. Yeah, it was stupid. But you know what they say, every day is for the thief, one day is for the owner of the house. So one day, and I did something that I considered smart at that particular time. I made sure that none of my investors knew each other. But how they all made the decision at the same time to want their money back, it still baffles me till today. But the good thing was that I had the money with me. So I gave them back the money, apologized. Until today, they're still very, very good friends of mine. But by the time I gave all of that, I had just 600 naira left in my account. And prior to that time, because I had a lot of money running around, I'd become arrogant. And the malams and all the other people that could have given me this meat on credit, because in the abattoirs, nobody uses money. You take from this person, you sell, you give them a bit, you take from this person, you sell, you complete the money with this person, give this person a bit. So you're always in cash, but nobody actually uses their own money to run anything at the abattoir. It's the people in the markets that do money, you know. But I had burnt all those relationships, so I didn't have access to any of that. But they say when the student is ready, the teacher is ready. So for the very first time, I started considering a relationship with God. And I went into church. There in church, it was Christ Chapel. There in church, I found a book called Multiple Streams of Income. And in that book was the phrase that led me to where I am today. And that was that every experience, whether good or bad, has commercial value. You just need to know how to position it, package it, and promote it. So I was like, okay, I know how to sell meat. People were asking me, how are you doing this? So I borrowed a mic from church, long story short, recorded everything I knew about the meat, who to talk to, how to talk to them, how to establish the relationships with them, put them on a cassette. And I was selling those cassettes for just a little over 900 naira. My first week, I sold off 11 cassettes and I was like, what? Okay. After a while, people started asking me, now only meat cassettes, now they sell. So I took all the things I was learning in church, which were new to me at that particular point in time, and I put them in another audio cassette that I referred to as the wisdom of Jesus, ancient leadership principles for modern times. That was what I titled it as of that time. And I sold that for 200 naira, and that took off. People started inviting me to church youth services, youth conventions, and all of that. One particular place, I went with about 400 tapes. I had 5,000 orders. I don't have enough tapes to sell. I put the script on the internet. Almost 6-7 months, I had about 40,000 downloads. If I knew what I knew now, I would have charged $1 for every single download. I think I would have made quite a lot of money by now. But anyway, that was that. But like I said, people come into your life or things come into your life at different points in time. Round about that time, I joined GNLD and I did really, really well with GNLD. I think I was about a Sapphire moving into my first Ruby when they invited me over to Coconut Grove at Ghana. And there I met an American man, Willie Jolly. He was holding an event in one space, and then next door, GNLD's event was there. But he took a liking to me very, 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 very fast. I got back to Nigeria, and then a few months later, things had calmed down. I was making money, but not as much as I was making earlier. I had issues with my offline, so all of that just kind of like dried up my funds. He calls me, sends me an email. He sends me an email and says there's a lady he wants me to meet, Janet Schweitzer. Now, for those of you that want to find out about this woman, Janet Schweitzer is the marketing brain behind Chicken Soup for the Soul. Okay. The marketing plan that took Chicken Soup to the Soul to the billion-dollar publishing situation that it is right now, Janet Schweitzer put it down. When she met Les Brown was tying tapes with rubber band to move from airport to airport. She wrote the strategy that Tony Robbins is currently using, all of those human beings. So anyway, I got on the call And whilst everybody was introducing themselves, they talked about their highest price products and what they were doing. I was hearing numbers that was making my head hurt. The most expensive thing that I sold as of that particular point in time was a 15,000 Naira 4-day seminar. And because it was Calabar, 15,000, you can't talk to me now. I'm a big boy. But these people were selling things for $10,000, $15,000, and all of that. So when it came to my turn, I told them that my highest price product was 15,000. I very cleverly dropped the Naira. I didn't mention that it was Naira. I put on 15,000. And that it's a 4-day seminar, all of that. But they pressed. And when they found out that it was the price of a meal at a very posh restaurant, I became the centerpiece of the entire thing for how not to run this business. All right. And so for 9 months, I was on the hot seat. It was embarrassing, but I learned so many things. It was there that I learned that what you charge for anything is not a question of what the market is offering. It's more a question of your confidence in your ability to deliver that particular result. Anyway, so that was that. I got out of that. I started Power Ideas. Power Ideas is my monthly audio subscription. All right. And Power Ideas stressed me out. For 5 years, I couldn't even make 50,000 Naira. But in the 5th year, we went from not being able to make 50,000 to bringing in 30 million in the 5th year. Currently, we have roughly 4,000, just a little over 4,000 subscribers to that. And everything just took off from there. Along the line, I married the love of my life. Yay. And then after promising that I was going to be the wind beneath her wings, we built a family. We relocated to Lagos. Lagos was a bit of a challenge because it was new territory for me. But in 2015, I started something called the Highly Paid Experts Network, which was a Facebook group. I just wanted an opportunity to give back. My businesses were still running, so it's not as if I had serious issues with cash. It was challenging as of then, but we could put things together. So I got on Facebook and I started this Highly Paid Experts Network, and I wanted to just give back. I knew it was going to make money. I didn't think it was going to be that fast because I started with 10,000 Naira, which was the amount of money I used to buy my first Android phone. And then we went from 0 to 28 million in a year, and my life just took a completely different turn. Opportunities came, all sorts of things came on the back of the Highly Paid Experts Network. Through the Highly Paid Experts Network, currently strategic advisor to 3 African presidents. I currently coach a member of, I can't say who, because if I do, everybody here will shout. But I currently coach a member of the royal family, the British royal family. They're having very, very serious issues there. Billionaires, ambassadors, governors. I've had the opportunity to coach every single one of them. But all of that came just on the platform of the Highly Paid Experts Network, because the people that I attracted to that network, they could open doors for me that I did not qualify to enter myself. And that's the thing when you have community, when you have people. In my language, we say, what it means is that wealth is nothing, clothes are nothing. The true wealth in life is people. And so because I developed this big mass of human beings who trusted me, who liked me, and who knew me for the right reasons, these people went ahead of me and opened doors for me. And so fast forward years later today, life is not, it's completely different from the way it used to be a long time ago. So that's how I got here, more or less.
Wow. I can see some things dropping in the chat. Someone is saying consistency.
Nancy, yeah.
Yes.
Nancy, we knew in Calabar. She used to buy my CDs, my audios back in Calabar.
Okay, so Nancy is saying Yeah, she used to. I can see consistency and intentionality. I can see what a story. And for me, you saying that you left school with a third class and see who you are today, I think quite a number of young people need to hear your story. And when we are done with this, definitely I would share the YouTube link, to the young
Thank you.
people in my sphere of influence, because it's very important that they hear, because we know that there are quite a number of them thinking, can I still make something great out of my life? Look at my academic, history. It's not looking like it. It's as if I've wasted time, I've wasted money. Who am I really? So this is just so interesting. This is just encouraging to see how far you have come. We can see, for me, hearing you being able to even point out the things that you've done and you know that you didn't do well, mentioning the fact that you were arrogant, mentioning the fact that you burnt bridges, because there are people who will not accept, that they didn't do well, and they will continue in that path. And definitely there wouldn't be anything, great to come out of it at the end of the day. So yes, it's very important that we have that at the back of our mind. We have some questions here that I would like you to look at before I go into, I think, the last two questions that I have. How do we get people who say they need a product? Their lives show that they need the product. They see the value in what we're offering, but they want you to give it to them free, especially when it comes to marriage and relationship coaching. So they need the product. They know they need the product, but they want it free. But something I would have asked is, can't they afford? But this person is not putting it there, because there are times people may not be able to. But let me just leave you to answer that.
Well,
how do we get...
If it's this particular question that you've asked here, it doesn't have anything to do with the person. It has everything to do with the person selling.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, because of the way we communicate, because of our attitudes in the marketplace, people build a perception about us. And once you have filled a particular space, a particular container in somebody's head, it's very difficult for you to be taken out of there by the person, no matter what you do. So a lot of people come into the marketplace and their communication is for poor people. Okay. The way they think about what they are offering, their first point of view is that if it's too much, people will not be able to afford it. I've seen situations where just changing the way a person talks about what they are doing brings better quality people. And when I say better quality people, I say that very carefully. I'm not saying that people who cannot afford what you're offering are not quality people. It's absolutely not true. Some of the people that have opened the best doors for me have never bought anything from me, but they're invested emotionally in what I do. Okay. But because of the way I communicate about what I do, it's very difficult for someone to have these kinds of conversations with me, because the expectation is that I'm going to have to invest, I'm going to have to put something down. Most of us don't understand that you have to train your marketplace to relate with you at the level that you want them to relate with you. You literally have to train people to behave towards you. So if you find more or less that you're getting more and more people who are coming to you and expecting that you give them things for free, it's not their fault. More often than not, it's the way you have been engaging with your marketplace over time. And if you've been behaving in a particular way for a long time, and people are used to engaging with you in this particular way for a long time, and you now switch, you're going to have droughts. You're going to have periods of time when these people no longer engage with you. That's because that gap needs to be filled by new people. So I would say look at yourself first and the way you're communicating with your market. Yeah.
Yeah. And you said something, you said you're going to have, excuse me, drought. But the truth is, you've actually been in drought because you've been offering for free. People haven't been paying you anyway
Yeah,
before
there's that.
you switch. So
Yeah.
just that the period of drought will be longer. But by the time
Yeah.
you recalibrate, you now get into that season of plenty that you've always wanted.
Yeah. And another thing about that is when you yourself, you're leveling up. Okay. When you're leveling up, you have to understand that leveling up means that you're leaving people. And when you are leaving people, there's resentment, there's whatever. And there's always that period of time between when a new set of people, you get into new sets of relationships and all of that, that would create the new opportunities that you want. The challenge is most of us are not really, we're afraid to lose the people that we have. Okay. But we want to create new opportunities for ourselves. And that doesn't really happen that way. In 2020, what I used to working one-on-one with me at a much earlier date used to be, I think the maximum I had gotten for direct one-on-one work was 15. If I was really pushing it, 20,000 US dollars as of that particular point in time. I now decided that I no longer wanted to take 20,000 US dollars for one-on-one work. I wanted 50. This is me that at 20,000, I had a waiting list of human beings. There was money coming. When I made the decision that I wanted to do 50,000 for working one-on-one with me, as in 50,000 US dollars, it took 1 year for me to get the first person to pay me. I even went to people who had been paying me 20 before, who were billionaires, who I knew could afford it. The strangest, the funniest story was this guy that I went to him and I told him what the program was. I explained every single thing. And he told me that it was too expensive. Like 50,000 was too expensive. The next week was his birthday. He sent me an invite. First class tickets, an entire suite to myself, brand new wardrobe, a car to myself. Total amount of money that this guy spent on me for his birthday was almost 49,000 US dollars. And that was just me. But it was too expensive. What I realized later on was he had me in a box in his head. So I had to take time and break out of that box. As long as I was in that box, there's nothing I was going to say. So every one of us, we have to understand that about the way the market is. It's just like you're behaving one way with I'm assuming that you're married. Let me not presume. Okay. So, all right. So you're behaving one particular way with your husband. Let's say every time he comes back from work, you kiss him. Every single time you kiss him, every single time you kiss him. And the kiss is just a light kiss on the lips, no tongue, nothing. Then one day he comes back and you kiss him and there's tongue. What will he say? What's happening? You want? Not even a question of what do you want? Who taught you that word? Those kinds of things will come. Yeah, it's human nature. It's human nature.
Wow. Thank you so much. I think I still have another question in the 2 questions. One came earlier, which I didn't pick. I'll want to pick. This person was asking that if peradventure when you were asking me how much am I willing to pay, if peradventure I offered less than the product, the way your product is valued, what would you have done?
I would have accepted your 500 and asked you when you were going to come up with the balance of 1,500.
Okay. So
because you need to. The thing is, like I said, this is all about you understanding human nature. You always have to protect the integrity of your fees. You always have to protect the integrity of your fees. You cannot allow somebody think under any circumstance that they can take advantage of you. So if something is 2,000 US dollars and everybody is paying 2,000 US dollars, unless of course you are willing to pay the balance. Figure out a way to get this person to pay the balance. It's your job to help people buy. It's your job to figure out how this person, given their circumstances, can come up with the money to pay you. It's one of the value-added services that you do for people. I mean, I've had situations where working with me, this person says, okay, look, I have 5,000. And I'm like, okay, how are we coming up with the rest of the 45? Do you have land? Do you have land that I could take possession of? What's the value of your car? We have those conversations because we have to figure out how the money is going to come. Okay, do you have shares? Can you pass them over to me? So it's not just about money. Or alternatively, the balance that you're owing me is about 45. Is there anybody that you can introduce to me that would bring in 95,000 US dollars so that we can write up your 45? But you always have to protect the integrity of your fees. Last, you can tell the person, okay, depending on how you're working with the person, you could also go, because there are people that I have that arrangement with. Okay, I'll take this, and then the balance, pay me from what we make together. So all of those, there's so many creative ways that you can come up with for helping people pay, but you always have to protect the integrity of your fees.
Thank you so much. That's quite profound. There is another question here. I would just like you to speak to. It says, where do we draw the line between marriage ministry and marriage coaching profession in terms of training, marketplace, and charging your worth?
Well, it depends on what you refer to as ministry. Honestly, it depends on what you refer to as ministry. If by ministry you're talking about helping people for free, then hey, there's no problem about that. As long as you can fund whatever it is that you are doing, there's no need to be ashamed that you are not charging or anything like that. Look, I don't believe that anybody can pay anybody what they are worth. I believe that you can pay people what they deserve. There's nobody on earth that can pay me for the suffering, the trauma, and every single thing that has brought me to where I am here today. There is simply no amount of money that can pay for that. But based on my contribution and the results that I produce, I can get people to pay me what I justly deserve now. And that increases over time. Now, understand something. Cash is not the only way that people pay. All right. So for those of us who are in what we refer to as marriage ministry, I mean, I've seen people who have gotten opportunity to travel all over the world on other people's dime, simply because these people believe in their ministry. I've seen people who have been given houses. I've seen people who have been given cars. I've seen people who have been given all sorts of things because they're making an impact and people just want to reward them, but they're not giving them cash. All right. Now, but if you're stepping into the coaching space, the expert space to do stuff, you need to understand that human psychology comes into play. If you spend 3 years in the space as a relationship coach and people do not see a measure of financial progress in your status, you lose credibility in the marketplace. So that's the truth. And it's something that most people really don't consider, because the more people start thinking that, oh, this coach is not making any money, then that means what they are doing is not working. It might not necessarily be true, but they'll say what they're doing is not working. The person that looks a lot more prosperous is a lot more prosperous. That's the person that they're going to end up going to, because human psychology, all man love a winner. We want to invest in people who are doing well. The people who are not doing well, we don't want anything to do with them. We want them to die. That's basic human psychology. So when you're coming into this space, you have to think in terms of your price points. all right? And every single one of us here, we have to cross what I refer to as the threshold. The threshold for wealth across the world currently is 150,000 US dollars. It's when you cross 150,000 US dollars that we can now start to say, okay, you have entered Let My People Go wealth. But that's internationally, globally. For Nigerians, the threshold for wealth is 70,000 US dollars. 70,000 US
Per annum or
dollars
per month?
per annum.
Okay.
70,000 US dollars per annum. If you cross 70,000 US dollars per annum and you live in Nigeria, people will take you seriously. Now, how do you cross that very, very fast? You have to price what you are doing at price points that enable you to cross that very fast. So those price points are 3,000 US dollars, 5,000 US dollars, 10,000 US dollars. The question is, what would you possibly offer to somebody that will make somebody who is always quarreling with their husband pay you $3,000 to work with you? Again, it's not about the money, it's about how you communicate the value of what you're bringing to the table. I have people, there's one of my clients, Nike. She works with couples who want freshness in their marriages. They want a higher level of intimacy and all of that. Two of them working together, it's 6,000 US dollars for 3 months here in this Lagos. And she's not the only one. Okay. But she understands that she wants to cross the threshold. I have another client, Modupe Ehirim. Modupe Ehirim has been in the marriage counseling space. She's part of the circle. Yeah. So she's been in the marriage counseling space for a while. She's a pensioner, she's retired and all of that. So if it's her pension and all of that, she's not in a place where she needs money. Her husband does pretty well and all of that. But she still charges. Not 3,000, but she charges a nominal amount that is still above what the typical marriage counselor would charge in Nigeria. All right. And that's because she understands this whole thing about the perception of what you do in relation to how much you charge for whatever it is that you're doing. When we started out, she didn't believe that people would pay as much as 300, 500, 900,000 to get marriage advice. But people in pain just want to get out of the pain. And depending on how you communicate, there are people that you can draw to her. Does she cater to people who don't have money? Yes, that's why she has this Facebook group where it's like a wealth of wisdom. She runs low-cost events and all of that. The Right Fit Marriage Academy. Yeah, she does that so that people who can't afford it would have access to those kinds of things. But she now caters to a higher level of clientele where she solves problems that really, really count for people who have influence. So that's the way you have to think about it.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I have 2 questions before we wrap up today.
Okay.
We need to go to the back end. So we need to go briefly to the back end. So we'd just love you to share with us, the back end secrets of successful selling.
For selling, well, there are fundamentally 3 things, okay? You have to get attention, you have to keep the attention, all right? And you need to amplify that attention. Okay. When it comes to getting attention, you need to understand that getting attention is about you being relevant. You have to be relevant to the person that you're talking about. And that boils down to, does this person really, really need what I am offering to them? Or am I just there to take advantage of them, take the money and run? Okay, does this person really, really need it? And it's better for you to only offer things and be relevant to people because people remember that. People remember that. I have somebody who sells shoes, and the conversations that she has with her clients is always very, very funny. Shoe don't come. Have you seen the picture? Yes. When are you paying? Tuesday. Tuesday. Okay, now no problem. So how many should I keep for you? 4 or 5? because the people that she's talking to, they love shoes. I met one of them. This one had more than 100 pairs of shoes in her closet, more than 100. I don't have 6. So my conversations with her, I'm not really a shoe kind of person. So every now and then, unless I have a special occasion before I get that, so she might not be that relevant to me. But to a shoe addict, she's ultra, ultra relevant. And so how do you become relevant? Well, the way you talk to these people, all right, the way you position yourself in the heads of these people, and what you offer to them as a solution to their problems. Very, very important. Now, outside of being relevant, getting attention, keeping attention is all about building connection. It's all about building connection between you and the people that you are engaging with. All right, that's what it's all about. And in order for you to build that connection, integrity is a thing. It's a major, 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 major thing. People need to be able to trust you. And sometimes that means that rather than selling to somebody like Evan Carmichael, said earlier, that sometimes you refer people to other people who can do a better job than you. But most people just want to get, even when they know that they'll not be able to deliver. And so trust goes. Being willing to be vulnerable with your marketplace, because people, they need a place to put you in their heads. But you can control where you go in their heads so that it is favorable to you. All right. So integrity is important. Community is important. Getting people who are like-minded, who have the same goals, who are headed in the same direction, bringing them together so that they can communicate with each other and connect with each other is value added. And then conversation. Conversation is very, 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 very important. Very, 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 very important. So this thing about conversation, like the example that I did for us earlier, where I role played with you, starting from the point of helping people get clarity, confidence, and capability, knowing that those are the foundations for adding value. Very, very important. Because more often than not, people want to buy, but they don't know whether that decision is in their best interest or not. So you have to provide that for them. And then, of course, when it comes to amplifying and monetizing, this whole thing, there are like 1,001 different ways for you to do that. But you need to go beyond the obvious. For most people, the way they make more sales is they go and look for more customers. Looking for more customers is the most costly way for you to make a sale. But if you can get your current customers to spend more and spend more often with you, then you have something that is predictable and steadfast. And that's where we really, really need to be thinking about it. So if you think about those 3 things as a framework, as a foundation for what you're doing, then you'll be pretty okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
The last question I'll be asking for today, I think you mentioned it briefly under keeping attention when you talked about community. I'd like to find out what roles does tribe building play and how can we go about it? So the role that tribe building play in selling, in making sales.
So
how can we go
when
about
it comes to tribe building, the way you think about it matters. Okay, so fundamentally, you need to think about the tribe that you are building like a religion. Yeah, we're not talking about bringing together people in a Facebook and labeling it a tribe. It's pointless. It doesn't have any power. We're not talking about meeting with people every single Tuesday and calling it a tribe because you meet on Zoom and there are plenty of people there. You want people who come together because of an ideology that they have bought into. So Christians are willing to die for Christianity. Muslims are willing to die for Islam. Buddhists are ready to die for Buddha. You want to create that same kind of condition with the ideologies that sits behind your offers. And people get very, very passionate. Have you seen people with their Apple phones, with their
Yeah.
iPhones? It's like a cult. It's like a cult that Android users are not welcome in. It's like it's like a real thing. So if you create that same kind of effect, then what happens is instantly you've created a buying environment. People buy not because you are telling them to buy, but because investing in whatever is around is contributing to the future that they want as a result of this ideology. So in terms of how it contributes to selling, it makes that buying environment possible. But aside from making that buying environment possible, it takes your products to places that you don't currently have a capacity to go to. One of the most important things that can happen to any of us here is to have people speaking for us behind doors that we cannot enter. And if somebody's talking about my meat in Aso Rock, it's as good as me being in Aso Rock. And then the third thing is just this connection with people. Look, life happens to everybody. And there are times when you need stuff that money cannot buy. I built a multi-million-dollar studio in 2019. No, 2018 going into 2019. And 2019 was a crazy year for me. One of my clients took me to Dubai. I came back to Dubai. As I entered Nigeria, I heard that my studio had burnt down. Talking about something I spent almost, I think it was about 60, 70 million on that particular studio. Gone, up in flames. However, I had a client who had also invested pretty much the same thing for a girlfriend of his. They quarreled. The lady took off and he decided, you know what? All these materials here, Victor, make me an offer. And I'm like, what kind of offer are you talking about now? If I tell you that I want to pay 1,000 naira for all of this now, Shebi, you go vex. The guy said, give me the 1,000. So I gave him 1,000 naira and I got 60 million naira worth of equipment. There's no money that can buy that. Because it wasn't the 1,000 that I paid. It was the relationship I have with him. So that's what community does for you. It's like being the pastor of your own church and having the benefits, so to speak. Yeah.
Wow. 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 This has been so how will I call it? Revealing. Thank you so much. Thank
you
you so much. Thank you so much. There's one more question that was sent to me directly. Sure. The person says, based on your experience today, how can we sell insurance products successfully, taking into consideration all the challenges in Nigeria and our belief system?
First of all, you need to understand that it's not insurance that is the problem, it's the insurance agent. All the problems we have in insurance today, it's not the company that is the major problem. It's the insurance agents, because the insurance agents are in a hurry to make a sale. So they'll say things that are not even company policy. Yes, that is one. The second biggest issue that you have in selling insurance in Nigeria is the people buying insurance because they don't know. Okay, so when you walk up to somebody and somebody brings all their traumatic stories for them, don't fight it. Tell them it's true. It's true. The insurance industry is messed up. Absolutely 100% messed up. And the reason why it's messed up is because of agents and because of people like you, because most times you don't take the time out to really understand what you are buying. I have an insurance policy. I was burnt twice. My uncle has horror stories. My uncle's uncle has horror stories. However, this is what I am bringing to the table that would ensure that those things that these people went through, you don't go through it as well. So you have to educate them. When I was selling insurance, I told people that, look, in order for you to establish wealth, there are 5 phases that you have to go through. Number 1, you have to take care of your basic needs. You have no business investing in insurance until you're taking care of your basic needs. Second, you have to plan for a house. Okay, no, not second. Second, you have to put aside money for emergencies and critical things that happen at any particular point in time. Third, you have to plan for a house. Number 4, very, very important. Once you have money for emergencies, once you have money for your house to make sure that there's a roof over your head, you need to start planning for the people who depend on you in case you die. It's an educational process. So I very strategically put insurance as number 4 because I want them to understand that I am interested
in them.
In them. Yes. So which of this have you put into play at this particular point in time? Do you have a plan for taking care of your basic needs? Most people don't. Do you have a plan for 6 months of investment? Most people don't. They have a plan for your housing. Most people don't. What I used to sell was term insurance. In other words, an insurance policy that was packaged as an investment plan. In other words, if you spent 10 years with the insurance company and nothing had happened to you, you get money back plus interest on it. It was like a way for you to save money, then you can go back to it. But the reason why I did term insurance was I needed a product that would bring somebody in. And then once the person came in, I got them to buy a different kind of policy that was higher. But this term insurance that Ekpo was offering, I've forgotten the name of the product, what it was offering at that particular point in time took care of all the fears that they have. Okay, so you as an insurance person, you've got to really, really know your products inside out, because ultimately, when the person is buying insurance, they're not buying the company, they're buying you. And it's a risk to them because if you leave the company, the next person who is coming, there's no guarantee the person is going to be you. So you've got to be very, very frank with them, very, very real with them, and just take the time and be patient enough to educate them. That's when you're selling it one by one. But if I was selling insurance as of today, I would have a YouTube channel and a blog. And I would educate the marketplace in a fun way, because that will elevate you and every single person will have you as a reference point. I don't know of one single insurance human being that is in Nigeria that is on YouTube. There's one NTA program that used to be about insurance, but it was dry. And who watches NTA? Okay, we have a Aproko doctor. Why don't we have Aproko insurance agents? Why? Because people need to know. People don't understand. Right now, I have an insurance policy for every single one of my kids. I have insured my brain just in case something happens to me. I have a brain injury or any of that thing. I've insured my brain. I've insured my left hand. I take it that serious because I understand what it means. Okay, most of the gadgets that I have around me, I've insured every single one of them. Is it easy to carry the strain? No, but I know what will happen if something happens to me and I can't function anymore. But there are so many people out there who don't know, who don't have that knowledge. It's your responsibility to educate them. And you can't wait until you're just in front of one person before you do that.
Yeah. I think you've mentioned something very key this afternoon again, education. So even whatever the product we are selling, it's important, or the solution we are creating, it's important there is education around that. You know, that brings me even to Mrs. Modupe Hirim, that is your coachee. One of the things I know about her is she keeps talking about marriage education. So for those of us in that space, and you mentioning it again here today, just struck a bell, that it's important that we educate the people that we are selling to. Because when they know, through education, it will be very easy for us to be able to get through to them. So
Yeah.
I think on that note, we can tie it up nicely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Please, let's just appreciate the chief tribe master in the house. Let's just appreciate him. Let's go into the group and just, drop the emojis, thank him. Thank you so much. We're so glad to have you in the house of saviors today. And I know that the things that we have been able to glean, we'll be able to put them all into practice. Thank you once again. Thank you once again. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
all right.
Thank you. Do have an amazing week ahead. Over to you, Peace. Thank you so much. Thank you. Over to you, Peace.
Thank you so much, TSM, for the fantastic session. You've done great. I mean, you've done a very great job.